Feel the bug, you wanna feel the beat, and I know mama told me not to wear it out. Welcome everybody to another edition of Rampage Recap Week 3. I am Xenaero, and I'm joined once again, by Rampage League Commissioner Nexus. How are you doing?
Great to be back again. How's it hanging over here?
It's going good. So we're looking at the end of Week 3. And what that means is that we have finished with the Rookie Division and are looking towards the completion of the Intermediate Division in pretty short fashion. Only a couple games left in that, and the Pro Division, which, well, it's pretty much anyone's game at this point. There's multiple competitors still active, and the lower bracket has not yet been determined. So, I mean, is there anything you want to say before we get started?
Yes, actually, I totally missed the rookie bracket finals. Was not home, I was at work, but I was able to watch the stream which you provided, which was great. And yeah, congratulations to Vaj and Drawn for coming second there. Vaj taking the overall win in the rookie bracket. It's great not only to see them play, but also to be so happy afterwards in the stream and sort of voicing how they felt about it. So that was great.
That's true. We did have a live broadcast, which you can find on the YouTube channel, which has past VODs of the Rampage Recap show. And we hope to also broadcast the Intermediate and Pro Division finals as well. So those will be live broadcasts, and you can see that on the YouTube channel, which you can find in the Rampage Doom Discord. If you haven't already joined, it's a great multiplayer community focused on competition, but very welcoming. I mean, they had a rookie bracket, and many players helped out in training them, practicing with them, and making a very welcoming environment. So great job to the Rampage team for that. Also, there have been some more donations to the pool for Rampage's server cost. Again, I am running an event on this channel where any resubs, donations, Prime, Bix, or otherwise, they go towards that, the equivalent value for the not prize pool, but that could be an idea for the future. Have a prize pool from what people are contributing to the stream.
Ooh.
So for now, though, that's going towards a good cause, and we are over $110 so far. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah,
it's pretty sweet.
That's fantastic. I can't say thanks enough.
So that being said, let's take a look at how the brackets look so far. And another donation from Powerful Ho. Thank you very much for the 100 bits. That is another $1 to the pot. And also great to see you in the rookie bracket. Speaking of brackets, we're looking at the Pro Division bracket right now, where we saw round 3 come to a close. Nexus moved on, as did Desperal. They will be facing each other in the upper bracket semifinals. Currently, looks like Lang had defeated Dante and Poto had defeated Warrior, and they move on to face Amar and X-Wizard respectively. So, what do you think about the current state of the Pro Division?
Yeah, well, about to do a bit of a deep dive into all these in a second here, but currently I think it's still looking incredibly competitive. Sort of at this round 3 point, we've got a lot of the heavy hitters from each side of the bracket kind of coming together now. I don't think there's any games anymore which are kind of like, not low skill level, but players who you're not expecting to win. A lot of these could go really either way at this point. Everyone is a really top tier player left over. Only thing I was really surprised about, I think, Sparrow versus Wiz, maybe a little bit of an upset, but we'll get into that one later.
Yeah, that one was a bit of an upset, as well as I did not expect. I expected the Poto and Warrior game to actually go the other way, but we will definitely get into that as well. That'll be it for the Pro Division. Let's talk about the Intermediate Division. It's getting pretty tight now. We have the last little spots on the bracket filled in, so that'll be actually, well, we really just have the finals left. Saltmine versus Dragon. We're getting a time together, hopefully this coming weekend, to live broadcast that. We will be going over the semifinals games, and then next recap we'll go over the lower bracket finals between Killer and Dragon. But that is the current state of the bracket for the Intermediate Division. Anything you want to talk about with these at a glance?
Just about done. Yeah, to be honest, kind of how I was expecting it to go for both. We're not gonna recap it in this one. Killer and Dragon in the losers round 4 just happened today. That was a really good one. But yeah, as far as semifinals in round 3 went, kind of how I expected, but definitely some good games in there.
All right, and then last but most certainly not least, the finished Rookie Division bracket. Vaj did take the finals match against Drawn 3-1, which we saw on our live broadcast this past weekend. That was a great game to watch. Congratulations to Vaj, and also thank you to every rookie player for coming out and playing in a bracket that was very fun to watch. A lot of awesome games. It's always very fun for veterans like myself to see newer players try their hand at duel competition, which is incredibly unforgiving.
Hell yeah, I second that. With the rookie bracket, it can be a little bit more harder, more difficult to bring everyone together, because you got a lot of people who got varying levels of knowledge and experience in the game. But I think on the whole, from just about everyone, it was a really good effort, and I'm super glad it was as competitive as it was. So yeah, super happy with that bracket and how it turned out.
Yeah, great stuff there. And then now I believe we are ready to get into the recap matches themselves. Are you ready?
Oh, I am ready.
Oh, we're ready.
Holy.
First match is going to be the Pro Division upper bracket between Nexus and Amar. I actually lost my point in my notes. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Nexus wins 50-33 on Judas, and then 50-41 on Amar's home field of Dweller 2. The Dweller 2 match was much closer, less than 10 frags, where we saw both players tend to kind of hang back in their corners, except for pushing towards the middle to grab the occasional spawn frag on Judas 23. Dweller was a bit more aggressive, with Amar narrowing the gap to less than 10 frags on his own home field. Nexus's conservative style helped him hang on to control just long enough to avoid a tiebreaker map on Eon DM.
Yeah, this was a game I've been excited for ever since the bracket kind of came into shape. I was looking at the bracket even when we first started this, and I was sort of thinking this match was almost inevitable. Amar, just a fantastic player, a player I've looked up to pretty much the whole time I've been playing the game, so it's great to play against him here. First game, Judas 23, my home field, one of my favorite maps. I was very lucky in this game between us. I played Judas 23 and Dweller, which are actually my two favorite maps. So in that respect, I think I was perhaps had a little bit of advantage there. Super comfortable on both maps. Just love the hell out of them. A little bit of a gap on Judas. Amar played really well, but I was just able to sort of win the majority of important engagements, and then just kind of on Judas, if you lose a couple of important kills or anything like that, it's a little bit of a snowfall effect where everything just sort of lands up on top of you, and even if you played a really good game, the gap can be pretty big if you make a couple of mistakes. Then we moved on to Dweller. Like I said, one of my favorite maps. Had to play a lot more conservative here. Amar is just a beast on Dweller. If anyone's played Amar on Dweller, you'll know what I'm talking about. It kind of played out. I like to think of it almost like a fast-paced like Doom chess game. Basically, you had to really slow it down, really deny the weapons. Both maps have huge emphasis on controlling the weapons. So if you don't control those SSGs, prevent your enemy from getting them, you're 100% gonna lose. So it's kind of what I focused on it in Dweller. Slowed it down a lot. Was only up by like 1 or 2 frags, and we went back and forth the entire game. I got lucky towards the end with a couple spawns, and I think it sort of skyrocketed that final gap into being 9 frags. But yeah, super close and fun games between us.
What I like to see in Dweller was Amar was much more comfortable in being aggressive, which was really interesting to see, and you were holding back a little bit more is what I saw, and you were really waiting for him to come to you, which worked sometimes, didn't work in others, but it showed that these two players are pretty damn close in skill on a technical map like Dweller 2.
Yeah, it was a stressful match for sure.
All right. But you're moving on, and Amar moves on to, well, he drops really to the lower bracket. More on that later. Next to the upper bracket games to be played was Despero against X-Wizard, where Despero won 2-0. Let's see, 50-38 on King 1 and 50-41 on Oblivix. So after Despero took a 10 frag lead early in King 1, which was difficult for X-Wiz to overcome, but it was even more impressive when you consider Despero is operating at a significant ping disadvantage with an over 100 millisecond delay tacked on. Despero then took away Oblivix away from Wiz and prevented a third map, moving Despero on to the upper bracket finals against yourself, Nexus.
Yeah, that's one to look forward to. Yeah, this happened just earlier today. It was the last match in this round 3 bracket for any of the divisions. Yeah, like I said, I missed it. I did watch a lot of it back though, and yeah, really solid gameplay by Sparrow. Taking even Wiz's home field is impressive. Doesn't matter who you're playing. If you beat them on their home field, that's something to be said for sure. Like you said, with Sparrow, he's got definitely a ping disadvantage. He's got much higher ping. With Sparrow, he's so hard to play against, and I think a lot of it is that ping. Of course, as everyone knows, ping comes with huge disadvantages. Just reaction time is the main one. Very hard to play around. Some players, myself included, I just practiced against him recently. He is very hard to kill. Like sometimes you'll shoot him and just absolutely nothing happens, and then sometimes you'll be watching his perspective and he'll just vaguely look at someone and they're dead. So he's very hard to play around for sure. I helped Wiz warm up for this one, and I know he wasn't feeling great about his chances. I don't think he was feeling too at his best form today, and I think Sparrow really was on his best form. So with that being said, the gaps were still pretty tight. Good game played from both of them, but with Sparrow just clinching it out a little bit more than Wiz did, and he's gonna be facing me in the semifinals, which I'm a little bit nervous for, because like I said, he's very hard to play against.
And that will be a best of 5. Best of 5s are happening on the upper bracket semifinals and the grand finals of each division. So Despero will have at least one more map to put in work. So stamina may be a factor in the upper bracket semifinals, but for now, I mean, bad days happen. It's unfortunate for X-Wizard, but he's not out of the tournament just yet. Still has a lower bracket run to make.
100%.
Our next matches will go into the lower bracket of the Pro Division. Lang against Dante is the first one on deck. Dante won 50-49 on Dwenga 5 map 1, his home field, and then Lang came back to win 50-33 on SSL2 and 50-29 on Eon DM. This is the first time we've seen, well, the only time actually we'll see Eon DM get played. It's no player's home field, and is the only tiebreaker map for this week. What I mean to say is that this is the tiebreaker map for this week, so we probably won't see that in the future. Is that correct?
No, we will not be seeing this one in the future. Much to people's joy or dismay, we'll see. It's a little bit of a more rare map, so some people probably like it, some people hate it.
Well, he won by no more than 1 frag on his home field, but so Dante put pressure on Lang early in the series, only to be answered by Lang's mastery of SSL2. Very tight map. He's very powerful on it. So this will be, you get a little bit of footage of Eon DM where it looked like Lang was more familiar with this map than Dante was. He seemed to be a bit more experienced with it. And unfortunately sent our favorite Pro Division Russian packing. So Lang will continue his lower bracket run.
Exactly, yeah. This was an interesting one. Lang, Lang's quite a character. He's got a very unique playstyle. His aim is just insane. I've said it, I think, in the other 2 recaps as well. And with Dante having home field of D5M1, it sort of goes against his playstyle, and I think we saw that. Like, the end score was very close, 50-49. Can't get any closer than that. But throughout the game, you can kind of see Lang not paying attention, sort of losing grasp of the game, just not really wanting to play that style of map, and that's ultimately what got Dante the win in the first map. Dante just being a little bit more suited to a patient playstyle. SSL2 and then Eon DM, then it sort of fell on Dante, and he couldn't quite keep up. With Lang, like I just said, his aim is crazy. Those maps are a lot more aggressive. Even Eon DM, which is a little bit slower than SSL2 that we're watching now, it still favors an aim-heavy player quite a lot. So yeah, I think the second 2 maps favored Lang quite a bit, and we saw that with the final score.
Yeah, Lang again showing a bit of weakness on Dwango 5 map 1, a little bit of weakness against a more patient playstyle. We'll see if that becomes a factor later on in the lower bracket run.
Yep.
Next match is between Poto and Warrior in the Pro Division lower bracket. Poto did win 2-0. First 50-32 on Class 219, his home field, and then 50-49 on Green War. So 1 frag difference between Poto and Warrior on Green War. So which turned into an ugly, brutal Super Shotgun joust. I was playing the demo back, and I was like, my god, they're just W-king each other for the most part. So they were neck and neck until the very end, and Warrior could have pushed it to Eon DM, the tiebreaker map, but I don't know how that would have worked out for him. So, but Warrior will be going home, and Poto will be moving on.
Yeah. This was one of the first games which happened this week. I think it was the first game for the pro bracket, and it was really exciting to watch. With the first map, Class, Poto taking it 50-32, like you said. I think it favors Poto's playstyle a lot more than Warrior. Warrior's got great aim and movement, but I think Poto just kind of takes the cake in that respective. It's very hard to beat a player like Poto when it comes to aim and a fast-paced map. He's grown used to this duel field quite quickly, a lot quicker than I actually expected. Before the season started, he was like, no one would ever see him in a duel server ever. And now he's playing duels, and he's still in it. So really impressive from Poto. Then we went to the second map, Green Moors we're watching here. It was a very hard watch. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. They're back and forth. And then the final frag came down to Warrior just missing the shot on Poto. Poto spawned just in front of him, and he missed the shot by it must have been like 1 or 2 frames. It was so hard to see. And that could have pushed it to Eon DM. Like you said, I'm not too sure how that one would have ended up. A little bit more of a strategic map, but still quite aim heavy, so I could see it going either way. That would have been interesting to see. Just didn't quite make it. I think Warrior perhaps struggled to capitalize on some of the mistakes Poto was giving up on Green War, and he could have pushed it to Eon, but there's a whole lot of if, buts, and maybes when it comes to a matchup like this, and I think Poto overall just put in a more consistent play, and he came out on top.
Yep, well said. I think that I was a bit surprised by the result. I think Warrior was so close, yet unfortunately so far. So,
yeah.
I mean, still Warrior put up a good fight through the lower bracket, and we'll be seeing Poto move on. So that'll be interesting, seeing Poto and Lang fight later. Oh, actually, no. I don't think that's true.
No, it's actually Wiz and Lang now.
It'll be Wiz and Lang. Oh,
yeah.
That'll be interesting. Or no, it's actually Lang and Amar, and then Wiz.
No, sorry. Yeah, sorry. What am I saying? Wiz and Poto is what I meant when I was just looking at Lang's name. Not Wiz and Lang. It's pretty misinformation.
No, we don't even know our own brackets anymore. My God.
I give up.
Next match is going to have us shift over to the intermediate division. In the upper bracket, Salt Mine against Killer 007 in the upper bracket semifinals. Killer 007 won 50-48 on Class 219. Salt Mine then came back to win 50-39 on Pobla. back to Class 19 where he won 50-45, and then back to Pobla again where this time he had a wide gap, winning 50-29. Well, Killer took the first map, which is good to set the tempo, but Saltmine took the remainder of the series, and I think he wore down Killer on the final Pobla match, because until then the score was pretty close. About 10 frags on the second match, on the first iteration of Pobla, but then it widened to over 20 frags.
Yeah, this was a great one to watch again. Killer putting in some great work on Class in particular. He's shown himself again and again to be a great player on this map. He's got really good aim, and he capitalizes on most of the spawns. He can get the refrag on, so it's great to see him play here. And like you said, taking the first round on Saltmine is just very hard to play against. He's one of those players who can easily take off a couple of rounds off of a pro bracket player for sure. So very impressive showing from Killer. And yeah, I think once again, I mentioned it previously and I'll mention it again, Pobla is quite the home field choice. I think it's one of those maps where it's very different playing from most maps. Even from a very frag heavy map like Class, it sort of plays like that, but with just shotgun. So it's like whatever skill you need on Class in terms of aiming, you need like twice the amount of skill on Pobla. And it's very, very hard and very tiring to actually play that map, I find. So I think that's kind of what we saw in the last round with Killer just slipping and making it a 50-29 gap. I think sort of stamina came into play, and just the small gap in aim skill that we were seeing between Saltmine and Killer just grew a whole bunch as Killer became a lot more tired. One thing I also want to mention here is Saltmine, we saw him lagging quite a lot, so very frustrating to play with that. Whether or not that would change the score significantly, we'll never know, but definitely one thing to note.
That's interesting. I didn't pick up on that while watching the demo back. But I mean, even though he did lose 3-1, so Killer did put up a really strong fight. I mean, they going 2 frags away, or winning by 2 frags, and then just being down by a little bit over 10, and then only 5 when he came back to Class 219. It's a tough thing. It's a tough ordeal to fight when Saltmine is really holding the advantage. It's a great match for sure. Killer should not be at all disappointed in his loss here. Well played by both players, really. And we actually have a comment from Saltmine in the chat. He said, "Dude, that first map, I almost obliterated my monitor." We did for those astute viewers, we did see a little bit of a shake from Saltmine. This is his point of view here in this footage. So he did a little anger shake when a shot did not land. Kind of funny to see those, but
yeah,
you know, some players do play under adverse conditions, and it makes the win pretty impressive in that case, because Doom is as much a mental game as it is a mechanical game.
Couldn't say it better.
All right, but enough about that game. Let's talk about the lower bracket intermediate division game, where it's do or die between Nico and Dragon. Dragon did win 2-0 here, but the games were incredibly close. He won 50-49 on Mu2D, which is Nico's home field, and then 50-41 on King 1, the Dragon's home field. So I mean, if you scrape by 1 frag, it's anyone's game. Throughout the game, he struggled to stay ahead on Mu2D, so Nico definitely took him to task for that, for sure. And it's a bit of a shame to see another one of our Eastern European friends fall, but Dragon is a very experienced player and earned that win.
Yeah, definitely. No disgrace once again. A bit like losing to Saltmine. Absolutely no disgrace losing to Dragon, because he's one of those players who once again could probably hang quite a fair bit in the pro division. So very hard to see Nico lose this one. It would have been great to see him in the finals, so we could hear his announcer voice again. That was great in the last stream. But yeah, no, really good effort on both parts here. This would have been almost a cool one. Like, obviously it's not how the tournament worked out, but this would have almost been cool to see in like a best of 5 format, because it was very close between these. It could have been interesting to see if Nico, given an opportunity, might have been able to mount a comeback. 50-49, 50-41. Like you said, that's not a really decisive win, but still there was a little bit of a margin there. So I think Dragon did play the better game overall. Dragon, a very precise player, I think is a good way of describing him. He makes very deliberate decisions when you watch him play. Sometimes it'll be very defensive, sometimes it'll be hiding in the corner, other times he'll go quite aggressive, but very precise nonetheless, and very close as I just said. But I think Dragon just edged it out a little bit on just very concise, quite tactical gameplay.
Now, another question. Going forward,
Yeah.
do you think that you may introduce a lower bracket best of 5?
Yes, going forward. So definitely we're gonna try to make this league kind of a mainstay. CTF gets a whole lot of attention, but I think Duel gets forgotten a lot of times. So really want this to sort of revive Duel in the sense where you can sort of practice for this and expect there to be a tournament in the future. So in the future, kind of nothing's off the table. The goal is to make these games a lot more competitive and a lot bigger in scale. So I think in the future, I think you're kind of on it. I think loser bracket best of 5s were definitely something we should consider.
All right. Well, we will be covering the lower bracket round 4 game between Killer 007 and Dragon in the next recap, although currently as it stands, Dragon does move on to face Saltmine in the finals for the intermediate bracket. Now we get to talk about a really fun match in the rookie division. It was championship time for the rookies between Vaj and Duran. Duran won 50-42 on King 1 to kick it off. Vaj then came back to win 50-46 on Mu2D, 50-43 on King 1, and 50-26 on Mu2D. It's a phenomenal match to broadcast. We did catch it live. The VOD of it is on the YouTube where other VODs are hosted, namely Rampage Recap. If you missed one of our episodes or came in late, absolutely check out the live broadcast. It was very fun to watch. It was neck and neck for almost every single round. Extremely strong showing from Duran, though, where 2 of his 3 losses were within 10 frags, making it extremely thin even amongst rookies where you tend to see a lot of mistakes made by both players. So it's a pleasure to broadcast this match live with Ross King and some final words from Dante, Nico, and Vaj after the game.
Yeah, just fantastic to see. Like you said with the VOD, I wasn't there to watch it live, so it was great to see that and be able to watch it after it happened. And yeah, this was quite the game. With rookies, it's always, you kind of expect it to be a little bit more of a skill gap perhaps than there is in like the pro division, because there's a whole varied amount of skill and experience from every player's behalf. So seeing the finals be this close is honestly like a dream come true from a organizer's perspective. When we're bringing all this together, when we're looking at rookie brackets and that, you're kind of just almost expecting there to be like 1 or 2 players who really stand out and just blow out the rest of the competition. So to be able to see a match like this go so close is fantastic to see. I think it kind of almost came down to perhaps a little bit of stamina. Both players played great. It wasn't a complete blowout on one player's behalf. Duran taking the first match there, but up until the 4th match, super close. But I think Vaj just sort of pulled it out of the bucket there and just took it home. The final match being 50-26, it sort of makes it a lot less divisive as to who should have won that one. And when you lose to a margin like that, you can't really argue it. So definitely a very close, but I think quite decisive win there.
Absolutely, and for those who did miss the broadcast and haven't seen the VOD just yet, very courteous win from Vaj on the mic. Great showing from a lot of our competitors in the Eastern European side of the world. It was super cool to see a ton of rookies come out and try their hand at it. We have a comment in the chat from Reaper, actually, one of our competitors in, I believe, the intermediate division.
Yeah, that's right.
He said the intermediate division helped avoid a blowout in rookie. And I would absolutely agree with that. So before I actually hand it back off to Nexus to comment a little bit more about that, I want to emphasize these leagues are nothing without you guys, the players. Like, the more of you sign up, the more rounded out the divisions can be, and the closer matches and more fun matches you can have.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the whole point. With duels, I think it can lend itself a lot more potentially to newer players than perhaps CTF could. With CTF, which is kind of the main format for pro sort of play in Doom at this point of the game, there's a lot to learn really quick, and you know there have been leagues which try to introduce a sort of a B league, but it's still a lot harder. There's a lot more pressure on the newer players. There's a lot more going on, and sometimes you see like big blowouts or not a whole lot of people showing up. That sort of difficulty. But with the way we've got it set up here, we've sort of tried to keep everyone sort of where they belong in terms of skill and experience. So yeah, Reaper's definitely right there. The intermediate bracket was a great add-on, and it really kept the rookie bracket very competitive. And if we didn't have the intermediate bracket, I think we would have had a lot of players, you know, even a player like Reaper actually, who if he were playing against a handful of these rookie players, it would have been perhaps a little bit more of a blowout situation. So it's good that we avoided that.
Yeah, fantastic organization for it to be just past the sign-up point for there to be an intermediate division, because that was added last second. How many players do you guys have total?
So we had 32 players total, which was more than we ever really were hoping to get. So how it ended up being is we put 16. It has to be a factor of 2, the way these double elimination brackets work. So we had a 16-player pro division, and then an 8-player intermediate, and an 8-player rookie. So yeah,
awesome. 8 players in the rookie division, but only one can walk away with a championship. Congratulations to Vaj. Well played by Drawn. Well played by everybody, really. Even showing up to a rookie match is it's a nervous ordeal if you're new to Duel. It's, you know, jumping in the server knowing that you are now in a competitive match and your result matters. It's something we're kind of desensitized to, but it's not too far away in the rearview mirror. It's pretty fun. It's a thrill, and we're glad to see you take that burden on and show us what you can do and show how you can improve. We hope to see more of you in the rookie division in the future.
Absolutely. Maybe even bumped up into the intermediate division for a few of you.
Ooh, maybe so. We'll have to see next Rampage Duel League if that does occur, but very awesome to see from a lot of players here. Let's look back at the brackets real quick. So the rookie division is done. Don't need to look at that anymore.
Yep.
As for the intermediate division, as things look right now, again, we're not covering the losers round 4 match between Killer and Dragon until next week for the 4th iteration of Rampage Recap. Between Saltmine and Dragon, who do you think will take it all in a best of 5?
Yeah, this is going to be a really close one for sure. Both players, like I just mentioned, could easily belong in the pro bracket. I believe they could have been shoot in there. I don't think anyone would bat an eye at it. So, gonna be a really close one. I've said it previously though, I think Saltmine's still gonna take this. I think Saltmine's just a little bit more of a well-rounded player, perhaps a little bit more of a less rusty player in the case of Dragon. And I think once again his home field is just super strong. Like Pobla is incredibly hard to play. So with Saltmine picking that as his home field, it sort of gives him almost a free win right off the bat. And with Dragon coming back up from the losers bracket, he's gonna be 1 round down anyway. So it's gonna be very hard for Dragon to come back from this one as far as I see it. But I'd like to see him prove me wrong.
So there will be a 1 round advantage for the upper bracket finalist, in this case Saltmine.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little tough for Dragon to play back from, but especially with the first map. Well, actually, it still goes by ping, right? So we'll probably see Dragon's map at King 1 first.
I think it actually goes by winner bracket and then loser bracket once we get to the best of 5 finals.
Okay. So a little more of a traditional
that plays
format.
into it a little bit. Exactly. Yeah, it goes a little bit back more traditional. Yeah, with the ping, it sort of, I think it was better in the early bracket because there's no real way to determine who goes first without it being sort of unfair. So I think ping sort of eliminated any sort of luck or anything like that. As far as I know a lot of brackets, they go by like seeding numbers, which I considered doing originally, but then, you know, it's not really fair to have one player go first just because of RNG. So I think ping was a good way to have that sorted out in the early portion of the tournament. But when it comes to finals, with the winner bracket player being you know, earned his spot up there, I think it works out a little bit better that way.
All right, okay. And as pointed out by a member of the chat here on twitch.tv, Saltmine and Dragon did face off earlier in the bracket, and Saltmine did take that 2-0. Do you think that Dragon has learned from that loss and is ready to fight in the finals?
Well, I think he's gonna have to. It is cool that they fought earlier in the bracket, so that way it gives Dragon sort of a chance to reevaluate, you know, this is what happened and this is how I'm gonna have to play against him to win it. Whether or not he'll be able to do that, we'll have to see. If I were Dragon though, I'll be watching that demo back. I'll be looking at, okay, this is how he played against me here. This is what I have to do to win. So, you know, it does give Dragon and Saltmine, you know, a lot more information about their opponent. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out.
And I mean, no matter how you slice it, you're going to be playing on Pobla Dragon, so
yeah,
sharpen that boomstick aim. All right, so that'll be. Saltmine will go into it with an advantage. Would you say Saltmine would walk away from this the champion of the intermediate division?
That's what I'm kind of leaning in towards. I'm thinking, you know, if I have to put my life savings on anything, it would be Saltmine winning this one.
We don't condone betting here.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, maybe in the future we could get some betting. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe, you never know. Never say never. But yeah, it would be very cool to see Dragon prove me wrong. I love seeing upsets, but I just feel like it's the safer option to say Saltmine's gonna have this one in the bag.
I have to probably agree with you there. We do love to see an upset, though, if Dragon does pull it off. It will be live, probably this weekend sometime. We don't have a determined time. Sometime Sunday afternoon, maybe. Don't quote me on that because the time is not set in stone. But it should be sometime this weekend. For those of you who are watching this live, join the Discord. You'll get a ping when that does go live. All right, that'll be it for the intermediate bracket. Let's get into the pro division for a little bit here. So you'll be fighting Disparel this coming week in a best of 5. How do you feel about that?
I think I said it earlier. I think I'm a little bit nervous for this one. You know, when I just played Amar, it was nerve-wracking playing that one because it's such a talented player I'm going up against, and it's the same case again in semifinals here. I feel like there's a little bit more on the table. I think going into finals with a 1-round advantage is huge, especially when it comes to the way the home fields work. You know, getting an instant win on your home field is really advantageous in a best of 5 situation. So it really rewards the player for not going, you know, for not losing any of these matchups. So I really like to go into finals with that position. However, with Sparrow, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like there's a lot more variables going on. He's got much higher ping than anyone else I've played in this bracket. Well, Sharp, I guess he has similar ping, but I feel Sparrow perhaps uses it to his advantage perhaps a little bit more than a player like Sharp does. I find it very hard to kill Sparrow in some situations, and like I said earlier, it's like he just looks at you and you're dead.
He also has not lost a round so far.
Yeah, so if you know you weren't looking at any names or anything like that, and you weren't perhaps too knowledgeable or just had to guess as to who's going to win this one, I think it would be a fair guess for a player to guess Sparrow's going to win this one, because like you said, he hasn't lost a single round. I did go a round down against Dranzer, so I'm certainly not, you know,
invulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this is going to be a nerve-wracking one. His home field's King. I'm not terrible on King. It's definitely not my favorite map, and with King, it sort of lends itself to some chaotic plays with the spawns. The spawns are just atrocious in a lot of situations. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to see how this one turns out. hoping I can pull through to the finals in the upper bracket, but a lot more variables I feel like in this one than there was in previous matches.
Yeah,
in
we're
my,
gonna have to
in my
see.
situation.
In the first round, Despero did play Skull Rush, and Skull Rush's home field was Judas 23. So food for thought.
Yeah,
All
he's
right.
had some practice.
I'm not going to predict this one. I probably would give a slight edge to Despero, though. He's looking strong, looking very strong going into his match with you. So I want to see you prove me wrong.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right, Armor, Amar, not really sure, against Lang. That's going to be an interesting match. They're both very tough players, very comfortable in close quarters combat.
Yeah, this is gonna be a huge matchup. I think this is gonna be, honestly, probably the match I'm looking forward to the most this week in the pro division. With Amar, he's like I've said repeatedly, he's a very talented player. He's very skilled, very versatile. I find, in a particularly frag-heavy map, he's gonna play well. In a slower map, he's gonna play well. With Lang, generally he lends himself towards a more of a frag-heavy sort of aim first, think later playstyle. But ever since he lost against Wiz in the upper bracket there, he's really forced himself to change his style. So what we've seen from Lang recently in practice is he's actually started to slow down, perhaps hold him back in a lot of situations where in the past he wouldn't. And I feel like he's really benefited from it, from what I've seen in practice. So this one, to throw a prediction out there is really like throwing a 50-50 bet. But I want to say Lang might win this one by just a little bit, but it's going to be very hard to say for sure.
What's the tiebreaker map for this week?
So this week is going to be Lazarus, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
Yeah, Lazarus.
Wow, I don't know how I would lean against this, but I'd probably... Lang is so strong on SSL2. To go up against Lang there, that does a bit of mental damage to you for sure. I mean,
yeah,
you're pretty much shut out. If we were to take all the results so far, Lang shuts out pretty much everybody on his home field. So Amar will have to claw back from that, and that might be tough. I'd probably give this one to Lang.
Yeah, well, I think in this situation we've got Lang absolutely hates Amar's home field as Dweller.
Oh.
So
interesting.
I think Amar has almost a guaranteed win on Dweller, and Lang, Amar is a fantastic player on SSL 2, but I think Lang will probably win SSL 2 if I had to put money on it. So, I think it's really going to come down to that Lazarus game, and with Lang changing his playstyle recently, that makes me want to say he could win this. But you got to think, like, Lang's been playing this way for what, a week or two? Amar's been playing this way for years, so it'll be close.
Be fun to look forward to on next week's recap. All right, the final match we'll throw out a prediction for: X-Wizard versus Poto.
Oh boy.
I don't know what to say here, to be honest. I mean, okay, so let's talk about home fields. Poto's home field is Class 219. Wiz has Oblivix. Both are pretty tight maps. They have some weird off angles that I think are good to note, and both players are pretty good at those.
Yeah.
So is it going to come down? Are we going to see it come down to Laz 04?
We really could do. So Poto having the higher ping in this matchup, the class is definitely gonna come down to the first match, and then we're gonna move on to Oblivix, and then if it comes to it, we'll go to Lazarus. So yeah, if Poto's gonna win any map, it's 100% gonna be class. Wiz, I think he showed today that perhaps he's not always going to be on his best form. Sometimes he's going to play absolutely amazing and could win the whole thing. And other days he might perhaps not be playing as well as he wants to. So I think if Poto's going to win any match, it's going to be the aim heavy Class 219. But then when we go to Oblivix, like Wiz is just such a slow player that when you look at a player like Poto, who doesn't traditionally play duels, I just can't help but feel that Wiz should win Oblivix unless, something goes wrong. So I think Wiz could win Class, and I think there's almost no chance of Poto winning Oblivix. I could be totally wrong, but that's just how I feel. So I think this is either going to be a 2-0 for Wiz, or it's going to be a very tight game into Lazarus, but it entirely depends on how Wiz is playing. I feel like Poto's just been super consistent, so I think Wiz's consistency is going to be the big question mark here.
Yeah, that might be the big... Yeah, there you go. Big question mark. I would probably give it to Poto just because of that. I would probably put both players on equal terms with each other.
Okay.
Wiz's last map, he's showed a bit of instability, but, you know, you gotta hit the gym, right? Gotta get back in fighting form.
Yeah, go hit the gym, Wiz. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, hit the gym, Wiz. Oh, we're gonna hear about this later.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Wiz has this one, but that's gonna be if he's playing as at his best as he should. But we'll see.
We'll see, and then, well, that'll cover it for those brackets. So, my goodness,
there's a lot there.
There was a lot there, and as always, it was a pleasure to go through the games that happened over the past week, including the Rookie Championship, and look forward to both the Intermediate Championship and the resolution of the Pro Division bracket. So,
yeah, a lot going to be happening, a lot of really important, heavy-hitting games coming up pretty soon here.
You're going to see a lot. We're pretty much past the point of any players sort of being maybe not 100% consistent because, well, we're later on in the bracket, so it's going to be all heavy hitters, like you said. Can't wait to see it.
Very top tier players now.
Again, we are going to be broadcasting the intermediate finals if possible. I would like to have Nexus there, but then we may have to dip into our backup co-casters and see what we can get for that one.
Oh, just get some bum off the street. They'll do better.
Oh, jeez. Give me that. All right. So that'll be it for a recap. Any parting words?
I think kind of the same as always. Thank you everyone for signing up, making this possible. Big thanks to Vaj, Dante, Dron, and Nico for the recap parting words. And the last stream, that was really great to see. And yeah, I think one main thing to say before we cap it off here is just keep looking forward to the final streams and whatever we have left in store here, because it is going to be very tight.
Should be a lot of fun to cover. And thank you to everybody for, staying up later than you probably normally would be, other than anyone here on the West Coast along with me and Nexus. It's pretty late in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So, or early, depending on how far east you go. But thank you to everybody for sharing your time with us, and it has been fun as always to bring you what has been happening in the competitive scene. And that'll be it. We'll play you out and have a good rest of your week. Look for that announcement for the intermediate finals. See you there.